Did the NBA foul up by fouling out Luka Doncic? And are the Celtics a team put together by geniuses? Plus, how hard is it to run a sports talk radio show and be the head coach of a college basketball team? We hang out with Doug Gottlieb. It is the Will Cain Show, which streams live every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time at foxnews.com, the Fox News Facebook page, and on the Fox News YouTube channel. Just subscribe to us, though, on Apple or Spotify or on YouTube, and hang out with us anytime on the Will Cain Show. Today, we have the host of the Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio, a longtime commentator at CBS, Fox, and at ESPN, who's now taken the job as the head college basketball coach at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. Doug and I have bounced around the sports universe, met each other once or twice, never hung out at any extended period of time, but we didn't only talk about the Mavericks and the Celtics. He had some interesting opinions about the future of the Dallas Mavericks, but we also got right into it over how's he going to do this? He just took this job as a college basketball coach, but he's going to keep his sports media job. How's he going to juggle all of that? Here's Doug Gottlieb. Hey, Doug, I really appreciate you going into studio, getting dressed up for your appearance here today on the Will Cain Show. I appreciate it. What are you, fresh off of practice?
No, I'm actually I'm in Oklahoma. My son he's working out with his high school. He's going to go to high school here, so I'm actually in the press box of football stadium. So yeah,
really,
it's like 1 billion degrees outside. So yeah, I'm
so
going up to the Bay.
how are you going to do this, man? How are you going to do? And we are rolling, by the way. So I want to just do all of this because I'm curious as well. How are you going to do a radio show and coach? You got to live in Green Bay. What are you doing? You're the now head coach of University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, and you're the host of Doug Gottlieb Show. How?
My radio show is from, locally is from 2 to 4. We have a podcast, which we record before it, which goes live after it. So you just carve out that window in the middle of your day, and you get up a little earlier and prep for everything, and you hire good people, and you get after it. Like, dude, I've had like 8 jobs since I left ESPN, and at ESPN, I did ESPN the magazine, ESPN.com, I did the ESPN News, I did studio, remote, radio, TV shows, whatever. So obviously coaching college basketball normally is a 24/7 job. So in this case, it's a 21/7 job. That's really what it is. So I'm excited. I mean, it's a full day every day, but it's a fulfilling day every day. So we're gonna see. And I'll tell you this, like, reality. College basketball coaches, and I know thousands of them. My brother is one. My late father was one. They spend a lot of their day BSing. They just do. They spend a lot of their day BSing.
Yeah.
So my BSing is on the radio. My lunch break is on the radio. So you carve out time, and you make it work.
Listen, I don't doubt that you have the work ethic and the experience in life that's going to lend itself to juggling this schedule. But I do know that doing a daily sports talk radio show or any show, and you do it well, and I don't throw rose petals if I don't think they're necessary. You do it what?
You did my time slot, ESPN.
You did my time slot. Yeah, you did my time slot. Yeah, 3 to 6.
Then it was the coach. Then it was Levitar. Then it was Bavani. And it was you.
Yeah.
So I remember right.
That's good history. And by the way, you couldn't keep up with it after me, I don't think. I don't know what it is now, to be honest. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but it changes a lot, so I don't even know.
But here's the I know. I can insult people, okay? It is on that radio network anymore, right? Like, we got everybody and eliminated everybody, and then you smartly did your own thing. Like, yeah, I loved the place when I was there. It's not the same place.
You know what? I loved it when I was there as well. I mean, I felt it changing while I was there, but I don't know. I liked it. I had a good time. But here's the thing. And like again, I'm not even gonna throw rose petals at my own feet, but like I did it well. The ratings were a relief for the network. It was a big success. And I know how much work it took. I took it seriously. And I say that because I was throwing rose petals at your feet. You did it well, man. I mean, like, to do a 3-hour radio show for me, and I think that Colin Cowherd works in the same way. It takes a good amount of prep because I went into it with a real idea of what I had to say and how I wanted to say it. And then you want to be natural and authentic once you're in there. But it takes a lot of work. And like, as you said, okay, fine. So college basketball coaches BS a lot. It's still like a 24/7 job. Only gotten worse with the transfer portal and NIL. I do think you guys have it better than college football coaches just because of lower roster numbers. You don't have to, I don't even know how they do that with those roster numbers. I don't know, man. You've got a real schedule ahead of you. And I'm not saying you can't pull it off.
Well,
it's going to be a bear.
I'll give you what I've been working on day to day now. Okay. So I get up at about 5:30, 5:45, right? And at that time, I usually like to do a little reading. And honestly, if I read for half hour, 40 minutes, like I'm pretty well in tune with what I want to do and how I want to do it within kind of a radio show sort of mindset. And remember, now that I've moved from Pacific time zone, Central time zone, we don't start recording pod until 1. So I'll fire off usually a text of kind of what I'm thinking. And then honestly, like, I don't delete that from my memory, but now I get to work on the coaching aspect of it. I like to get up and I'll go work out with usually one of my assistants, and like a kind of a working sort of meeting sort of deal. And then you get into your office and you kind of get started, get about your day. Obviously you got to get coffee at some point in time, figure out what's going on for lunch. And then you kind of lock in. And then at 11 o'clock, which is 9 o'clock West Coast time, I have a call with my producer, Jason Stewart. I know you know Jay Stu. And we lock in on what we want to do and if there's anything breaking and what he's thinking. And then he sends me a long laundry list of stories that I need to read, some of which I've read previously. And then we print them out. I got them on my desk. And then I check off if I want to add anything. And then he puts on we got a G chat going. And then again, kind of put it to the side, get through everything else within my day. Dennis, who's my director of basketball ops, comes in, and if there's any calls that need to be made, they're made then, and everything else is planned for after the show. And my door, you can simply come in during a break. You have to know when the times are. And then at about 1 o'clock, we start recording the podcast. And then we go from the podcast to the radio show. Great thing about the podcast is you can start, you can stop. I think ideally, I'd actually like to record parts of the podcast first thing in the morning so that it's all ready. And then all I have to do is add in some of the takes, if you will, like an interview first thing in the morning. And then you're done at 4 o'clock. The only thing that's going to change is once we start going in terms of practice, I want the guys, I like practicing shorter rather than longer. And my idea is many times you go twice in a day, you go an hour in the morning still, and then you go team stuff, an hour 15 in the evening. And so that changes, again, that eliminates your ability to do something in the morning, and you change that until another time that's open. But remember, like, that's not starting practice. We'll have summer workouts where you get 4 hours in the gym with them per week. We're going to do those in the morning. So the middle of the day is completely wide open. And then the evening is left for recruiting or playing golf with donors or raising NIL money. So it's a full day, but like, it's a job, and you can't say you want something and then complain about the hours of something when you know what you're getting in. So I have no complaints. I love what I'm doing. Go ahead.
I want to explore the coaching side for just 1 minute with you because, I know you're new to this, although you've been around coaching really your entire life. Your dad, you as well, by the way, even when you were in college at Golden West. But it's new. It's all different. And like, I don't know, what actual coaching seems like now it would be about 30% of the job, 40% of the job. Whereas there's a reason that college football coaches we're moving this way. They're going to have general managers. They're going to have roster managers. And again, their numbers are way different than yours. But like in college basketball, it's reasonable. You might have a 75% roster turnover year to year with the transfer portal. So what that would mean for you is constant recruiting, constant high school, constant scouting in the college ranks, constant NIL, negotiations and raising money. I see you already saying I'm not so sure, but it's just like the
No.
coaching plus the general management.
So when you take over the program, and two that they had gotten from the portal, and I knew we weren't getting those guys. So we had 8 left on the roster. 1 was an incoming freshman. 3 of them jumped in the portal. So immediately you got to kind of re-recruit your team. I had 5. So we're in the process of putting together a roster. So as much as I think some would say, hey, you haven't done it yet, I'm actually doing it. So I actually know how it works. Couple things. One, come for the AAU work. This is all you do in AAU basketball. This is all you do. You're constantly adding a kid, losing a kid, trying to talk kids and families into staying. I wasn't running it to make money. So I never did, hey, you got to pay 5 months or 6 months in advance. I just, hey, you want to show up at the tournament? Let me know. Send out an email or a text. But you're constantly doing kind of this changing of the guard thing. And on some level, there's recruiting. So I do actually have a great base to start with. And I understand the perception of it. But the reality is, look, first of all, I have an army of people that I would consider friends all over the country that I played with, played against, played for my dad, played for my brother, agents I know, coaches I know, and they send you kind of players. Honestly, the hardest part is there's so many people who want to help, and they send you a player, and you want to do your due diligence and really watch a lot of tape. So the great thing is college players, we have something called Synergy, which, by the way, is based in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Every college coach has Synergy. You can watch every play, every defensive play, every offensive play, every pick and roll, every catch and shoot, everything, just at the press of a button. So what it takes is a deep dive, right? You go and you get a kid, and you look at them. There's an analytics company called HCI. We use their service. Their service gives you an analytic rating and shows you if they're at your level, below your level, or above your level. Right? So if they're about your level, then you go dig in with the video. If you like the video, then you call somebody. Okay? And then you got to find out, does this kid want money? If he wants money, is he in kind of the neighborhood of what we'd want to spend? And I do think that one of the things that is a misconception of the world of NIL is not all these kids need money in order to, many of them, at least at our level, value the opportunity, right? In the same way in which I value the opportunity and I'm taking less money, to do my job, there's a lot of kids that look, I just want to play, coach. And I say, all right, but we're going to support you. We have cost of attendance. If you achieve a 3.0 or better, we have Alston money. So we provide them with money in their pocket so they can go around town, so they can be regular college students, but they don't lead with, and they never ask for NIL. I think the perception is, and maybe my perception, even when I was a radio host only and calling TV games, was that everybody had their hand out. Not that way. There are kids that you have to compete with financially. And there are kids in which the initial ask, you're like, hey, that's not even our ballpark. We're not doing that. And you have to worry about whether or not you upset the apple cart. And then in regards to the recidivist rate, again, I think that it costs a lot more to replace a player than it does to keep your players. So to me, the way you go about it is you don't need to throw a bunch of money at kids to bring them in. Right? That may help you, but it's like sugar, right? Gets you hyped up, and then they leave, they're not loyal to you at all. And what you do is you bring in good kids or you keep good kids, and then you do your best to compensate them to stay. And you do that, one, with some sort of academic bonus if you can, or 2, you raise the NIL and you keep those kids. And maybe they're not the 4 and the 5-star, maybe they're not as athletically talented, but you increase your culture and they can improve as athletes and improve as players. So that's the game plan. That's what Purdue has done. That's what 2 years ago UCLA has done. Can you keep your players and build and have continuity year to year to year? And I think if you have that, you can compete against higher talented, better, better financially supported programs than your own.
That I think that is absolutely true. We've seen the rise of many of these mid majors based upon the idea that you can keep a guy around for his fourth or fifth year when Kentucky's turning over the roster every year. That's got to be, but even still, I'm a Longhorn fan. I see them. I see who they're rating every year, and the truth is they're going to Green Bay, Wisconsin. If you have a standout player, or New Mexico, and pulling a guy over and up a level, at constant up a level in terms of, national brand and exposure and level of fun.
You away from well, right? There's major, mid-major, and a little. One of the things the transfer portal, high majors aren't really recruiting a lot of 4-stars. They're just not. There's several that are available. And those kids are like, okay, do I go to a high major? Do I go to a Texas? Do I go to a Florida? Do I go to an Arizona and sit and run the risk of them bringing somebody else in next year, maybe compensated really well? Or do you come to my level, which is down a little? Like, we're not shy away from it. But then you play well, you make a name for yourself, you put up some numbers, you look a lot better on synergy, you look a lot better in the analytics, and then you bounce to the higher level. And again, that's a power thing for me. So there's a
How hard do you think it is, Doug, for those guys, though? The model that Kentucky and Texas are doing they're at 75% roster turnover every year. Regardless of talent, to bring that roster together in 1 year, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you get the guys on the same page, culture and chemistry. I don't know how you do with that kind of turnover.
It's a great question. And here's my working answer. And maybe we'll circle back in a year and I'll tell you if it's a reality. Again, I believe I'm actually better equipped for it than traditional college coaches because they've always done the other model, right? They've been doing this. They've had transfers, but remember, up until a couple of years ago, transfers had to sit out for a season. So you could embed them with culture. You can make them really feel part of it. They could also improve their games and they get older. Now it's very transactional. I agree with you. So again, when you're coaching AU basketball, you got to get them to love playing together and to play within a system in short order. Twice I've coached teams that went to Israel in what's called the Maccabi Games. It's like the Jewish Olympics. It's why it's important because you have to make them a team in 1 month. You have 1 month of practice and then games to make them a team playing against older, more mature kind of players and get them to be a cohesive unit. So it's actually an expertise of mine. But because I come in from outside the college basketball world as a broadcaster and then an AAU coach, I wasn't doing it the same way for 20, 25 years. I haven't had to make an adjustment. I'm parachuting into something that actually fits how I've had to coach, how I've had to build groups in the last 15 years with AAU and with coaching overseas. So I understand. How do you do it? There's lots of little different techniques. One, you got to get the type of kids that all fit together. Okay. Secondly, you have to get them there. My idea is to get them there in the summer. A lot of guys are like, well, we'll wait, pick a guy in the fall. That can screw up the whole apple cart, even if he's a really talented player. A lot of these additions that haven't worked out because they were added late and you lack the chemistry. And then you have to build it. And my way of building it is we're going to do everything together. Includes a ton of fun. So, on weeks in which we go an hour a day for 4 days, we're going to go an hour a day, 4 days hard. And then they're going to lift weights for an hour a day. And then they're going to play ball in the evening together. Coaches are allowed in there. And then on Friday, we're doing some fun. And we're a part of a country where you can do, it's like America's playground in Door County. We can go play golf. We can hop on a boat. We can, we get Foster Wonder claims to be the world's greatest fisherman. He's from Iron Mountain, Michigan, and he's going to take everybody fishing. So you just do things to make them one, make them a unit. And it's a lot. Were you in a frat in college?
No, I played sports though. I know. I played water polo at Pepperdine, and so I know what you're talking about because a team is like a frat.
Right, but like it's all those things you do in the first months together makes you right, and then we'll see. Like November 4th, it's our first game. You'll find out if we're in unit or not. If guys are playing for each other or playing for themselves, that's her challenge. But I'm not alone in that challenge.
By the way,
I just have an area of expertise, which is
Are you on the? Are you in the Jewish basketball? Are you on the Mount Rushmore? Like, what is the Jewish basketball Mount Rushmore of players? I don't know. Doug, help me.
I mean, Dolph Schayes he's there.
Okay.
But I mean, I didn't play in the NBA. It was just John Shire, the Duke coach, won a national championship. So he's got to be there.
Right.
Bruce Pearl, in terms of coaches, Red Auerbach, of course, a Jewish coach.
Yes.
It's the famous Eddie Gottlieb. No relation.
We've your dad, but we've quickly jumped into coaching. We got to go back to playing. You and Dolph Schayes.
Jewish players.
Yeah.
Spencer Weiss was the player of the year in the Ivy League. David Blumenthal playing USC. I was more known. I don't know if I was that good, but people knew me because I never shut up when I was playing. So that's how I made a name for myself.
Well, what'd you lead the nation in assists a couple times?
G.J. Clown, and of course Nancy Leroy she's on Mount Rushmore. It wouldn't be on the side.
She was analyzing the Mavericks last night on local Dallas reaction to the NBA Finals. Let's do that. I saw you tweet, man, which I appreciated because you were on the same page as me to some extent. You tweeted about the Luka foul out with 4 minutes to go. You tweet about then the PJ Washington foul afterwards. It was a blocking foul as well against Drew Holiday. Here was my thing, Doug. By the way, I was kind of like you. I don't think it was a charge, but you weren't calling much all game long. It was like 10 foul shots for each team. How about a no call? Or how about just not through the course of a game blow your whistle to where a guy who's fouled out 3 times in his entire career fouls out in the NBA Finals? It's just like, really? That's what we're doing in the game?
There's a couple things to it. Okay, I'm going to tell you something that no one else is willing to say. Okay, Brian Windhorst doesn't know what he's talking about. Luka's not a good defender, and they're going at Luka. Okay? But here's the thing, okay? Windy, I completely respect Windy as an insider. That's his role. If he wants to be an opinionist, which he was last night on Scott Van Pelt, fine, it's a different role. But you also have to know what you're talking about. Okay? You've seen Dallas play, and you know this to be true. Okay? The way in which they play, when you have that skyscraper behind you, by design, Luka, he's not supposed to be a traffic cone, and sometimes he is a traffic cone defensive. But he's supposed to stay in front as long as he can. If they get, then he goes and picks up whoever more the big dude is guarding. They want to funnel you into mid-range pull-ups over a 7-foot center. So the idea that he's not guarding anybody, he's right and he's wrong. He's wrong because he doesn't understand the defensive rotations and how Dallas. He's not an analyst. So he's giving opinions, but he's not really an opinionist. But he's a basketball insider, like, I don't know. But he doesn't actually know what he's talking about. The point is that everybody's pointing out that Luka doesn't play deep. It's not new. Okay? And obviously, he looks a little bit heavy and he's a little bit wounded. But a good portion of it is by design. With Porzingis in the game, obviously Al Horford plays out there by the 3-point line. You play in front, and then you let him go, and you want to make him take mid-range jump shots. And then when he goes by you, you go pick up the nearest man. Actually, the design of their deep. That's first. Second thing, like, what are we doing? And you and I have watched the NBA our entire lives. Did Michael Jordan ever foul out in a big bowl? Like, he would have 5.
Right.
Like, never. And Luka's the best player in the league. And the last 2 fouls were in, especially considering when you get to this level of basketball, one, but they swallow their whistle at both ends. And secondly, you got to know. You got to know he's there. I mean, unless he literally goes into the crowd, takes out an axe, and murders Jaylen Brown.
Right.
50-50 call at best. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous for the sport. It doesn't mean we need the Mavericks to win the game. Why are we taking the best player and putting him on the bench on some 50-50? So yeah, I mean, it was abysmal. It was abysmal, and it's made it an impossible hill for the Mavericks to likely climb over the next, 1-4.
And we don't know. We don't know if they would have. We would have won. We don't know if the Mavs would have won the game if Luka was in the game. But I will say this, and I'm a homer, Doug. I own it. I'm a Dallas homer through and through for
I know.
every single one of my
You
teams.
sit there and you sit
And I,
there and every year in the playoffs, you're Cowboys. I can get.
yeah, I do. But and I don't. I'm embarrassed if we get swept by the Celtics, but I'm still proud that they went this far to the NBA Finals. But I do wonder about Luka and his emotion and his attitude. Like I do. Like there were videos going around showing like complaining to the ref, not getting back on D numerous times. And by the way, I think Luka, the people call him a foul merchant, a foul hunter. Well, yeah, but he's also fouled all the time. There's like swipe fouls against his arms all the time.
Really,
but sooner or later,
he's really hard to officiate. Really hard to.
He really is
what?
like James Harden.
I like,
but sooner or later,
LeBron James.
right?
LeBron James.
But sooner or later, Luka. Agreed. But Luka's got to rise above it. But Luka's got to rise above it, and I'm worried that he hasn't.
It's fair. I think here's a healthier way to look. This is me saying honestly. You know, when LeBron first got to the finals, he didn't have a good enough team around him, and people even now be like, remember when LeBron got to the finals with Boobie Gibson as his starting guard? I understand that he has Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie Irving is a great player. Kyrie Irving is not the player he was 5 years ago. I don't think anybody. So, like, again, perfect example is, you know, Kyrie Irving with the Cavs, he could put together 4 out of 7 games where he was great. You've had 1 good game out of 3, right? The proper the ratio lowers as you get older, and he's had a ton of injuries. The point is, this is not a great Dallas Mavericks team. And my belief is 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to look back and believe that he had a rookie center. He had PJ Washington, who they picked up at the trade deadline, you know, and, you know, they lost Brunson. It was just him and Kyrie Irving. They went all the way to the finals. They went to the Western Conference, right? I think that's how we're going to look back. Does he need to continue work on staying in shape during the season? Yes. He needs to lose weight. He's never going to be fleet of foot, but he's not moving particularly well. And some of that's injury. Does he need to complain a little bit less? What's lost in when he fouls, he does. He's just a flamboyant dude. It doesn't bother me. I get back on defense when you think you got fouled and you turn it over or you miss a shot or whatever. But these are things that you learn at the highest level. It's his first NBA Finals. He's like, 24 years old or something, 25 years old? I mean, the guy is unbelievable. I think he's the best offensive player in the league. And my expectations are to see him in the finals in future years. And I think we're going to look back and go, that roster in Dallas wasn't particularly good.
So he's either going to rise to another level, is what you're saying, or they're going to have to do something about the roster around him, which, by the way, I think there'll be some internal improvement. Lively looks really good, and who knows where he goes. He's only 20 years
Lively's
old.
Awesome.
Awesome. But LeBron, Dallas Mavericks, what do you think?
It's happening.
Come on, he wants to play with Kyrie.
Why would he go to the Dallas Mavericks?
He loves Luka, thinks Luka's great, loves Kyrie, wants to play with Kyrie. I don't know if the Mavericks can get Bronny. Bronny may go in the top 10 now. Who knows? But yeah, I think I don't think it's unrealistic. LeBron James, Dallas Maverick.
It's unrealistic. It's one of those. It's one of those. Okay, first thing is like LeBron can be whatever. LeBron can't play on a team where he doesn't have, at least for a substantial amount of time, the ball in his hand. Now he does let Austin Reeves control the game when he's tired or whatever. But the idea that those two guys are going to be doing their thing with the ball down the corner like that. Secondly, he's got a daughter who's he's not leaving LA. He's just not happening.
Okay.
That doesn't mean they can't add a piece and can't add the bench and change the bench, but they have an absolute superstar as a young center who's on a rookie contract for the next, I think, 3 years. And they got one more year with Kyrie, and PJ Washington's a keeper, and they got to pick and choose what else they add and how they add. I honestly think, surprised they got this far. because if they knew they were going to get this far, maybe they would have had some veterans, some buyout guys to their bed.
Speaking of LeBron James, what do you think about J.J. Redick, head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers?
Well, far be it from me to question a hire of a guy who hasn't coached me. Like one of my, I would say,
Careful. Careful.
Got a job. Jason Kidd got his first coach job right after he retired. Right. I mean, basketball is a little bit different now. Like, you played for 20 years. Like, it's the other things that you do that you don't know how to do, that you hire people and they teach you and you kind of assimilate to the job. I think the challenge is going to be that JJ's super bright. He obviously understands what he thinks he wants it to look like. It's different when you coach. And then how does he handle the relationship piece with LeBron? Because LeBron is not your best player. Not your best player. Anthony Davis is your best player. And probably next year, Austin Reeves is your second best offensive player. And so you have to manage that relationship. That's really what NBA coaching is. And to a certain extent, college coaching is. You're managing relationships, as well as coaching the game. And then when you get to the playoffs, now it's about X and O. Now it's about, about finding mismatches. Now it's about being clever and creative with all your adjustments game to game. Whereas, for the 82 games, a lot of that is roster management more so. And I do think that because he's been a starter, because he's been a bench guy, because he's been on TV, because he's been a star in college, because he's had all those roles, he understands how to have the stay ready group, how to talk with guys that are just shooters, how to express himself. Like, I think he'll be fine. I really do. The question is, can they find the staff around him, and can he manage that relationship with LeBron? Because you got to coach LeBron, and LeBron takes a lot of plays off on defense now. He takes a lot of plays off on defense. And how do you handle that? How do you manage that? That's the big challenge. Can he do it? Yeah, why not?
You got me thinking about the role of TV. I mean, here's TV and radio. You're going into coaching. They're talking about J.J. Redick going from TV to head coaching the Los Angeles Lakers. Donald Trump is a, celebrity TV, yes, business as well, phenomenon to the presidency. Good friend of mine was saying the other day, the future of politics is more TV than it is congressman. So, I mean, it's a better platform to run for governor or president from, let's just say, being a host on Fox News, than to be some congressman from Wisconsin. It's kind of interesting how TV's become this platform to all these other huge leadership positions.
Well, it at least in sports, it kind of always has been. People forget Doc Rivers, got done playing, went to TV, then was a head coach. There's been several of those transitions. And then look, there's really successful NBA coaches that went the other route. Eric Spoelstra went video room all the way up. Now guys are going video room, G League, and all the way up. There's no one way that's the right way to prepare you. But I do think that when players know you, and in this case, in the world of politics, when people think they know you, there's that name recognition. It does help. I mean, look, the criticism of President Trump, and I have friends who worked with him in the Oval Office, was he wanted the job, but did he really do the job when he had the job? He was good at the presentation of it, right? But you got to read the briefs. You got to do all those things. And then you got to, again, hire people around you that know how to do what you don't know how to do, and you have to empower them and listen to them. That's the big thing. So look, I've been kind of researching and trying to prepare for this for 22 years of being in the media. And the great part, again, this is doing basketball, not being president, is I got to go to practices. I've been at games. I've had working relationships. So I've understood some of the elements of it that the public don't get a chance to see, that even TV and radio doesn't get to see. But I do think that radio, podcast is a powerful platform that create a relationship with people. And so you don't need to introduce yourself. They already know who you are. And you take J.J. Redick, you take Donald Trump, you take Deion Sanders. And, in some way you take my rise and you say, okay, it can work But at some point, then you have to have the substance behind it. You can't just get the job. You got to make the job work, and you got to understand the work ethic it takes with that job.
You're kind of like me in that there's a group of us been in sports media that no matter what you say, like Gottlieb, ridiculous, at least on social media in those worlds.
Sure.
They do that with me.
Sure.
I don't know. There's a group. I mean, Coward is kind of in that group where it's just like, you've never been a internal media darling for your opinions, and I wonder why you think that is. Like, by the way, I don't know your politics. You know mine because I put mine out there. So you just said, oh, it's because you don't. You're radical. Yeah.
Radical.
Right. You and every other self-described person in America.
We're not to go along every policy left or the right change. I mean, all the fringes are crazy. Okay. But, it's like, you can believe in universal health care and believe in punishment. Why not have to be like, why not? Like, if you commit a crime against humanity, he deserved to not be on the face of this earth. Like, I have no problem. On the other hand, we're the greatest country in the world, and we should find ways that everyone gets health care because we're already paying for it anyway. If you get hit by a car, if you don't have insurance, we're still paying for it. We got to find a way to do it. Maybe a smarter way. Has been done. Yeah, I'm a radical centrist. I will not abide by any one person or one side's politics. I don't believe in being a lemming and go, well, I voted Republicans, so I have to go along with everything Republicans say. Point is,
well, why do you think?
Why
do you think so many people think what you have to say is crazy? Then, is it because you don't fit into a box neatly?
I'm irreverent. I've never really cared that much what people think. And that usually works for me. I think you don't know. Well, you can't put somebody in a box. I think that's part of it. I just think there's also like, look, this. Once you succeed, and when you say succeed, like people say, oh, that's arrogant. Like, okay, well, I've survived in this business for 22 years, and I was a good, not great college player. I was not a great student. I didn't go to Duke. I didn't go to an Ivy League school. So I've succeeded in this business. You've succeeded, right? You've had your own radio show. You have your own TV show. You're on Fox News. You by anybody's estimation, hit me over. I've hit you over. Once you succeeded, people want to take shots at you. And you're either built for it or you're not. I think one of the things that happens, especially to, like, now that we're like the Caitlin Clark thing, like now when women have become a prominent part of the social media discussion, they're not used to, or maybe their fans aren't used to, the regular critiques that we get. Like, I would do a broadcast for CBS, the NCAA tournament. I worked with Ian Eagle, who's I've worked with a lot of great play-by-play guys. Nobody better on earth than Ian Eagle. I'd get done with the broadcast. I'm like, man, I freaking killed it. I was good. How do I know I was good? Because Ian said I would. Ian says I'm good, then I'm good, right? And you just know in your heartbeat. And then you open up social media and, just the worst. So the idea is that once you succeeded or once you become prominent, there are people that are going to find fault with anything and everything you do. And like, look, if you're going to spout your opinions, you're going to have a stray or two which you want to take back, which work great. Right? You just hope your ratio is pretty good in terms of things that are
That's right.
And you got to be willing every once in a while say I was wrong. But I just think it's once you succeed, people feel they're left life, and they want to blame you for it. And so they take shots at whatever you do. And again, if you want to be in this part of the business, if you want to have the Will Kane show, you're going to have to have thick skin. And if you don't have thick, I'm not going to say it's fair or it's right. And there are people that step way over the line and who they think you are as a human being. But at the end of the day, you can have skin to either mute or not look at replies or not care and just know you did the best you could at that.
Well, one thing I like, and I hope that this remains true for you, is that coaches end up being like politicians. And your goal whenever you talk is to say nothing. Nothing strategically, nothing controversial, nothing.
You what?
No, I'm just saying it's what.
his time in the state of Texas, right? All of great classical accomplishments.
No, I'm saying that's what happens, and it doesn't seem to be happening to you yet. It'll be interesting to see you, Doug Gottlieb, irreverent, abrasive, unabashed opinionist, now also head coach. I mean, because that head coaching thing is something that there's very few that let their opinions fly. Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr, that's about it. It'll be interesting to see how that industry puts pressure on you.
Give me an example. Okay, so obviously, the conflict in Israel is something near and dear to my heart. And
here's how I've grown as a human being is I still have opinions, but I have opinions on things that I know of. Right? Social media, you have lots of people who start opinions about things they know nothing about. I've lived in Israel. I've had dual citizenship in Israel as a United States citizen as well. I've been there for 4 different summers in my life. So I feel like I am more than qualified to comment on the realities of the situation. Right? I'm not, and to admit that the Israeli government is just as screwed up, if not more so than ours. Okay. But again, so the point is that in the opinions that are outside of the purview of being a basketball coach that I know you're talking about, and
if you say it, you got to own it. You do have to understand, is it worth the fight? Is it not worth the fight?
But also talk about things you know, and don't say anything about things you don't know anything about. Just listen to people who know what they're talking about. I have so many friends in the financial world, and I don't understand that sector. I just don't. Like, they start throwing out ETFs and other things, and I'm nodding my head. Just tell me where to put my money, guys. I don't really know. But in basketball and in sports, parenting, some relationship stuff, Middle Eastern politics, I've lived in Russia. Like, the things that I know, those are the ones I feel comfortable having an opinion about. Things that I don't, and listen to the people that know what they're talking.
And by the way, now you're also not just a coach, you're on a university campus, which is like the antithesis of free speech at this point. All right, I'm going to ask you this. You don't have to go anywhere you don't want to go, but you just said you have firsthand experience in Israel, and that's a part of your career I'm familiar with as well, is you have firsthand experience in Russia. You played basketball in Russia as well. What do those two experiences lend to you right now about the way the world looks at what's going on in Israel and the way the world is approaching Russia?
It's a great question. Okay. And here's the honest answer is we do this as a country and as citizens all the time. We look at it from our perspective, right? We look at it from our perspective. You have to be there and understand it's a completely different way of life, right? In the Middle East, one side values human life, one side values death, right? And you can't have a conversation with an American and say, like, okay, what if it was actually more valuable to die for a cause? Like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, but you were raised to believe that life is valuable, and if you're Christian, when you die, your sins are forgiven, but not to take anybody with you. That's not how people are raised. So you have to understand how people are raised, how they're brought up. Their value for human life is completely different than ours. And if you try and implore our values on people that don't value things the same way, it's an ill-fated conversation, ill-fated thought. The same is true in Russia. I was in Russia, again, it was a long time ago. It was 2001 for 7 months playing for Eurogrape, which is in the city of Perm. And I learned to speak Russian, still, I understand a little bit of Russian. And again, that was after perestroika, when you had ultimate capitalism, and you start to see what pure capitalism at that time, what happens when it runs amok. You have the very, very rich and the very, very poor. And, when you have money, you can literally do whatever you want. So I think it's one of those, people say, well, like, walk a mile in my shoes. I think you have to understand that not everybody grew up the way we grew up. Not everybody's values the same that we value. And when you allow yourself
to realize that, then you can better form an opinion, or maybe not have an opinion on something you don't know anything about. The thing about social media, this is the vicious truth about social media, is people feel empowered to comment on everything. And then the worst shows in media, you even take the Hollywood shows where they'll say some dress. Well, it's YZ 417 says, here's what they say. They don't know anything about anything. So what I've learned from those two situations was, again, until you've understood and absorbed somebody else's culture and how they're raised and what they value, you putting your American values and your Western values on it, that sounds good. It may win you friends on social media. It may sound really good over dinner conversation. But the reality is, to those of us who've lived in those places, we know you have no idea. And we completely eliminate your opinion from the discussion.
That is I totally agree and love what you have to say. Not just on opinion formation, but on, honestly, and you don't have to comment on world, foreign policy, but like the idea from a conservative perspective that we were going to export democracy and freedom and it's going to be met with open arms is just not real when based upon the way other cultures form their values and the way they live their lives. And the idea that we all are human in the end, but we are very different. The lens through which we view the world and what we want from this world is just so very different. And for me, that's why you work on, perfection at home. That's why you focus on your immediate tribe. In my mind, the immediate tribe is America. It's not ethnic. It's not racial. It's not even ideological. It's America. In understanding that people are inherently different. I really like what you had to say there. Lastly, I want to go back to the finals. I don't want to do a disservice. I got producers on my show that are big Boston Celtics fans. And you can't just talk about the side that is trying to avoid a sweep here. I'm going Friday night to watch. Hopefully the Mavericks not get swept. But the Celtics are really good, Doug, like really good in my estimation. And I'm just continually frustrated by how many guys are hitting threes and how good and stifling their defense is. Every time I look up, Luka or Kyrie are doubling into a dribble team in the lane somewhere. They're waiting for him there, it seems like. And they're not afraid of anybody else hitting a three, and they shouldn't be. And then I just am really impressed with this team. And Jaylen Brown's really good. Jason Tatum's really good. I think Brown will win MVP, but it doesn't matter. It's like it's a team. They lost Porzingis, still good.
Well,
you know what? If they lost Brown, still good.
Well, I mean, look, obviously Joe Mazzulla's done an outstanding job, but let's give credit where it's due. Brad Stevens is amazing. He was. And I called a game against Valpo. And again, here's the, you want opinion that are dumb? I'll give you. So after his first or second year at Butler, the Oklahoma State job was open. And Mike Holder, the former athletic director, called me and we talked for a while. And he said, what do you think of the guy at Butler? I was like, ooh, coach, I don't know. That's a big step from Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, a different type of student athlete, different part of the country. I don't know if it fits. He's only been doing it a couple of years. He came from the business sector. I love for really good friends. We remain really good friends, but I should have said yes, go all in, go get him, pay him as much as he wants. But the couple things. One, Brad Stevens essentially kicked himself upstairs. They had kind of tuned out Brad. And so he went to the front office route. And then the value of, for example, Jrue Holiday. And you look at where the Bucks butchered this thing, right? Jrue Holiday is a better basketball player for a championship team than Damian Lillard is. Okay. And you say, well, Damian Lillard could average 30 a game, not on a team that wins a championship. And there's two ends of the basketball. So, they trade away Marcus Smart, who everybody loved, and they've actually gotten better defensively, and he was defensive player of the year. So what they did there, getting Al Horford. When they got Al Horford, people said, he overpaid Al Horford. No, you don't understand that because of the leadership that he exudes and because he can hit 3-pointers, it keeps the lane open so you can't block all those shots when they drive. It all works together beautifully, which brings me back to when I saw Brad Stevens coach, and it started out when he was at Butler, he ran a lot of sets that everybody else ran. difference was Brad always had the right guy at the right place at the right time. It was like, I didn't do it. He's done the exact same thing as an executive, getting just the right piece at just the right time. And not everything has worked out perfectly, but, but the addition of Porzingis, who hasn't been healthy, but a stretch five who opens up the lane and a guy who could protect the rim and brings Al Horford off the bench. That's genius. The addition of Drew Holiday. That's genius. What they've done with their bench, all brilliance. I give a ton of credit to Brad. And then Joe's a guy who's open to all of the different use of analytics and how basketball, 50% of their shots in the first half were 3-pointers. And that seems like a high number. And you're like, wow, they're just coming down playing old man basketball. Okay, but there's a math to that. There's a logic to that. And they had the personnel to do it. So I think it's a beautifully put together roster. And it starts with Brad, it ends with Joe Mazzulla, and then the players that fit in and bought in well.
They're going to be a deserving champion. I don't think this will be the one time in history when somebody comes back down 3-0 in the NBA Finals, in the NBA playoffs. All right, Gottlieb, I wish you the best of luck, man, at Wisconsin Green Bay, and I know you'll kill it.
Are you going to come to a game? Cowboys don't play in Lambeau, but do you want to come to? Have you ever been to a Packer game?
I've never been to a Packer game, but I don't.
Okay,
I would much rather sit floor seats.
Consider this in here. You can have both.
Your team.
Okay. You can have both. Like, this is not an either or. Okay. But consider this an open invite. Okay. An open invite to come. And if you want to do both, I'll set the schedule. We can do both. All you have to tell me is you're coming and when you want to come, and we'll make it happen.
Done. Awesome. All right. Doug Gottlieb, thanks so much, man, for being on the Will Cain Show.
I know we only did this so you could get packed. You're welcome.
Didn't even know it was coming. Thank you. There you go. That's my interview with Doug Gottlieb. Check him out on the Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio. You can check out his podcast, as he mentioned there, and pay attention. Let's watch. University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. That's going to do it for me today here on the Will Cain Show. I will see you again next time.